Hello and welcome. Welcome to another video with me, Veerle, and I'm doing this series of Saturn together with another personal planet, and this video is about Saturn together with the Sun, and that is a very important one. If you see that in a birth chart, it pops out, Saturn and the Sun. In this video I always, or in this series of videos, I always look at three things. First of all, the natal chart and the connection between the Sun and Saturn. Then I look at the transits of Saturn to the Sun. And then I look at synastry with those two particular planets. So let's get started with the Sun and Saturn. And when I'm talking about aspects, I mean that they make a connection. So for instance, the easy aspects between Sun and Saturn is a trine, for instance. I've got that. And a sextile is also the energy that I'm going to describe, but it's more easy. And then there are the harsher aspects, which is the opposition, the Sun in an opposition with Saturn, the Sun in a square with Saturn, and the Sun together in a conjunction with Saturn. So this is more challenging, certainly challenging. And what is this all about? Well, Saturn, and as I said in the other videos, Saturn is about time, it's about hard work, it's about harshness, it's about restrictions, it's about discipline, it's about blockages, it's about father, it's about what else it is about. I think I've said the main things of Saturn. It's about definition, it's about form, structure, manifestation. And the Sun, of course, is about, I think the Sun represents our spirit. So wherever the Sun is in our chart, in sign or houses, it's our spirit. It's our consciousness. It's our what we are all about. It's our individuality, our identity. It's our path in life. Where do we need to go? That is represented by the Sun. And of course, for a lot of people, that is associated with work. But in general, where the Sun is positioned, it is what we... It is our life path. It is what we are all about. It's our identity. It's our core, you could say. And the Sun wants only one thing. It wants to shine. It wants to show what is it all about. And of course, if you mix the two ingredients of Saturn and the Sun, it's like if the Sun wants to shine and Saturn is about discipline, restriction, and all of that. So if someone has this in their natal chart, it means it's not easy for this person to show and to shine and what they are all about, their true identity, to express themselves. It's hard, it's with a challenge, it comes with age, and even then, when they come to a certain age, it can mean that they struggle. So, as I said, it's one of those aspects that hits the eye when you see that in a natal chart. When you see in a natal chart, there's a lot of buoyance in the chart. When you see a person with Sun Saturn, there is a lot of restricted energy. There is almost control about your own self-expression or wanting that control. And Saturn and the Sun are, I think, also represent the father in an element in a chart. I've seen it always, even with the Sun in a conjunction with Saturn or in an opposition. There's always this element of the importance of the father figure in the person's life, whether you are a man or a woman. And probably with the harsher aspects, it's more of a difficult relationship with father, certainly when they were younger. With the trine and with the sextile, it's different. They see more the positive things about Saturn and about father. So it's all a way of perception, of course, and how we see things. But everyone with Sun and Saturn, especially the harsher aspects, the challenging aspects of conjunction, square, and an opposition, they didn't have this easy time when they were younger. On the contrary, they were already old when they were young, you could say. Because life prompted them into situations, and probably with the father figure or another figure that was important, but that had some kind of authority, because Saturn is also authority in someone's horoscope. There must have been someone who suppressed the person. And suppressed what? Well, how they could express themselves, how they could be the ones that they needed to be. And this is, of course, not easy to live with, because it comes from a long way. And of course, there is something about this aspect that, although it is one of the harder and the more difficult aspects, especially for men, but I've seen it also with women, that it is not easy at all. But the thing is that I've also seen that people who've got this aspect, that they were quite successful at what they do, just because of the hard work of becoming someone and being someone. This is such an issue for these people, that it can become a motivator. They always had the impression, whether it was of a parent or whether it was just the way how they look upon things, they have this natural self esteem that is not the highest, and that is another statement, I think. So they don't see themselves as full, and because maybe someone always said what you do is not right, or you never become someone, etc., etc. I recently saw a woman with Sun conjunct Saturn in the 7th house, and it was about her father. She said that still she was in her late 30s having difficulties with the relationship with the father, because the father never saw her as full. It was always, whatever she did, it was not good enough. And of course you carry that along with you in your life. If you perceive your identity as it's never good enough, it's quite hard. You know, these people are very, very hard on themselves. And even when these people don't, it's certainly people with a character, and not the easiest characters at all, because they can overdo, because the self-esteem is intertwined with fear and with difficulties, and therefore they either are too fearful of themselves, almost you could say. There are very much people who are fearful of their own success, and almost they really have to be almost into their 40s to see that and to have success. And that's why they work so hard. They really have a need to become someone in life. And it differs with the position of the sun, of course. But to be almost an authority at a certain level or a certain area of their life, they have to be someone, because they have the need to be that and to develop that. But at the same time, you can deal with a person, certainly when they were younger, who are overdoing this authority. This has to do with authority. I've seen also with people who are a bit younger, who have problems with authority. So not only the father, but with teachers or with bosses. And they go the other way. They act as a very macho, almost, as a super sun, you could say. Shining too much and seeing themselves as wow, and a bit, you know, a bit like that poshy, or how do you say that? But that is because they feel very not confident about themselves. So there is a huge path here to go, and a huge part to learn about self-confidence and about understanding their qualities and their competences. They have their talents, but they are their own worst enemies. And it will always be something in their life that has to be worked on. But of course, with all connections of Saturn, it betters through age, because Saturn is the planet of time. So it won't be, it always shows that it won't be easy for these people to be who they are. And it can be in hundreds of scenarios. It can be in a scenario that you are amongst very concerned. Like, I give you an example that, as I said recently, with that woman with Sun Saturn, and she has the ability to leadership and to do that, and she has authority in her, but she doesn't believe it for herself, and therefore she struggles at work. But it can also be like, let's say it's in your 7th house or even in your 1st house. I also saw it with someone who was gay, and who was more the macho gay, you could say. So certainly not the feminine looks, but he was so struggling because he felt not worthy to be alive, because he was into conflict with himself. He didn't want anybody to know, and even his parents were okay with it, or were not the most difficult people. But certainly with the father figure, it triggered something, that I'm not good enough for my father. I'm only gay, and I can't help it. I am the way I am. But these people struggle with their own identity. So I only give this as an example. Not everyone is, of course, gay when they have a Sun-Saturn conjunction. Not at all. But I'm just showing that not being content with oneself and pushing the standards very high, and not being able to accept oneself. It's very hard, isn't it, to accept your own restrictions and your limitations, and there's maturity in it when you accept that who you are, when you accept that certain things you can't do or you can do but you won't because of the fear. But it starts with accepting that piece by piece, and then you can go from there. So that's why also people with that in their charts are also quite successful, even in oppositions. I've seen people who work so hard, especially men, for career, for being seen as full. And that's why it's also important to go for that, and to go through those struggles, and to become that spirit and that special someone. And the Sun is a ruler of Leo. It's about your own uniqueness, no matter what it is. So, but quite often these people are not content with what they have and what they are. And it's their job to assimilate that, and even to make it as something that is strong in their horoscope. So it's not all difficult. It's also it can become something that people are really putting hard work and a lot of standards to reach their goals, because the Sun also has to do with your goals, with your life path. Well, this is a very ambitious position, even for a woman. A woman can attract a man in their life who is quite authoritarian or quite strong, but it's also an energy in them. They also need that through structure, through perseverance, through hard work. They understand that things don't come easy. Their goals won't come just like that. It's not a Sun conjunct Jupiter where you have the abundance of reaching your goals. No, it has to come with hard work and with not giving up. But it can give also a person a bit of a reserved aura, you could say. And what else? I think that's most important. Hard to express yourself, yes, and they can be even people who have a connection with Saturn. It's also, whether it is the moon or the Sun, when they see people who have in this occasion a strong Sun in their horoscope, and having easiness with, in this case, shining and showing who you are, they kind of envy them, because they lack that. And if they understand why they are envying this, and why they are lacking this, and where does it come from, then they're coming to peace. Otherwise it can be quite frustrating. Hard working to find your identity. Absolutely, you will have to work harder than someone else to work on your identity, to work on who you are. But once you understand that, and once that you it's also people with a lot of fears, the Sun Saturn. I've seen it a lot with anxieties, with huge fears in their life, to not only to show who they are, but also fear of success. What if I'm gonna reach that goal? What if? And they are also very super focused on something, and that is a good thing, of course, because even when it is a pitfall of being over focused and fearing something and seeing something like it is a mountain, but to cross over, when they are understanding that it's their own worst enemy that they are, it's not pointing to other people, pointing to other situations, and of course it is coming into terms with yourself. If they do that, they can become really strong personalities and understanding other people as well with their fears. And therefore, there's a lot of father in these people. So a lot of wisdom can come because of that. And I also seen that a lot of those people are good counselors. And I don't mean as in a profession, but also someone having in the family with a Sun Saturn are quite often the people that other people of the family rely on, because they have gone through many struggles and they know how that they have to work hard in order to get what they want, to get accomplished who they really are. So it's, of course, it's always two sides of the medal, but once they become aware, and the more aware and working hard and never giving up, they can achieve a lot of success. So it's also, especially also in business and whatever business you do, because Saturn, I think Saturn is also, having a strong Saturn helps you being more organized, doing something in order, having structure there, and you need that to set up a business or to be in business. You need to be organized, otherwise the business won't work. It doesn't matter what business you do, whether you have a hairdresser business or whether you doing astrology like I do. If you want to have a business, if you want to earn your money out of what you do, you need a structure. And these people can do that. They are very good at tackling those organizational problems, you could say. Now, that's for the Sun and the Saturn in a natal chart. Yes, it is a fear of rejection and it is a fear of... but these are actually the obstacles that let them fulfill themselves. Through those obstacles, they get to know who they really are. Now, what about a transit? Having a transit, now the Saturn is in Scorpio, so let's say you have your Sun in Scorpio, you're having the Saturn over your Sun sign, or maybe you have some planets in the opposite sign, which is Taurus. So you're having a Saturn opposite those planets in Taurus, maybe a Sun in Taurus, or maybe in Leo or in Aquarius. It doesn't matter, because what I wanted to say is that for two signs, and it's always the same signs, it is a bit harder and a bit more challenging. If you've got your Sun in Leo and a Sun in Aries. Now, why is that? Because these are the two signs that want to shine very much and who are known for, who need attention, but in a good way. People think, oh, needing attention is not good. No, some people are made to shine and to give other people inspiration, and these are very much the signs who do that, Leo and Aries. But they receive Saturn in detriment, as we call it, or in fall, but it means that they don't like the energy of Saturn. These people don't like boundaries, they don't like restriction, they don't like a lid on their shyness, on their sparkles, you could say. In a nutshell, Saturn transits on your Sun is not, whoa, I'm going to a life full of abundance, I'm going to achieve my goals very, very quickly. No, it's rather the hard work and the definition of your identity. So It's a time of taking it slow but persistent energy. So it's also a time to be very economical with your energy. Be very economical with the energy flows, because it tends to people tend to feel a bit less energized during that period, but it means that it reflects, and it needs to be that way. So there are maybe still some fears around as well. Fear of doing something, fear of starting something that has to do with your goals, but it means that where does the fear come from? And maybe it's there to teach you something, to improve your talents, to improve your goals, and to improve what you need to do before you reach that goal. It's very much of a reality check. It's very much feet on the ground now, and stop the dreaming. If you want to accomplish something, start the doing, and do it in a very structured way. That's in a nutshell a Saturn transit. So people can really after that transit has gone, maybe more or less it's 1.5 years that you can have a transit like that. Mostly after that you get the fruits, you get the rewards. Now what if you have this in synastry? So if, let's say, someone's Sun is bang on someone's Saturn, or someone's Sun is squaring up with someone else's Saturn, or in an opposition, or in a trine, or in a sextile, what does it mean? Well, Saturn always, when you in any relationship, a friendship relationship, love relationship, it always means, when you see Saturn and a personal planet, and the Sun is a personal planet, it always means a bond, a strong bond, strong ties, you could say. You see that quite often in a composite chart, the Sun and Saturn in a chart of a child and a parent, as well with the Moon and Saturn. But not always. It can also be a relationship, a love relationship, that there is Sun and Saturn connection. Then yes, it's a testimony of a possibility of long-term relationship. Absolutely. So that's a good thing. It also shows that there is a lot of responsibility, not issues, but responsibility in the relationship. So, and from both ways, even if it's an opposition, there is this feeling responsible for each other. And I think that's a good thing, because you rely on each other in relationships. As much as you want to be independent, you help each other with certain things, and that can be a good thing. Now, the only challenge that it's also challenging Sun and Saturn when it comes to, it has to do with your individual chart, of course. When is it most challenging? Well, if the Sun person, so if you are the person which Sun is involved, and you receive that Saturn energy of that other person, if you are not okay with all the criticism that the Saturn person probably gives you. So it really depends on your person, on the personality of the two people. If the one is criticizing, and which is mostly the Saturn person, is more of taking the lead, you could say, in the relationship, and the Sun person is okay with that. In other words, the Sun person says, yes, but he's a good teacher for me, because I learned to shine in a better way. I have to do this a bit more organized or whatever. Then it's okay. But mostly people will feel it as a restriction, especially when they are more in the relationship. It's quite often that the Sun person feels restricted, feels that they are not good enough, feel as they are dealing with a parent instead of a lover, because you know, it's the same energy as I just described with the Sun and the Saturn. So it can go either way, depending on what kind of personality you are. And if you are the person that has his or her Saturn on someone else's Sun, be aware of that more criticizing than you would normally do. Be aware that that other person perceives you that way. And it's always a difference, isn't it, in just criticizing and trying to be constructive in your criticism, trying to help other people to show that Sun in a better way, it's totally different when you're just doing that without any respect. Respect is very, very important in synastry with Saturn to a personal planet. So if there is no respect from one way or the other way, or one person to the other, this won't work. This won't work out. It will be pain in the relationship. So, but I've seen it quite often in synastry. So, but sometimes the person with the sun there feels inadequate, and even though they have their potential and they have their talents and they have their competences, it's that other person that criticizes them a lot. So be aware, the Saturn person, of the high standards that you have, and the Sun person, be aware that the Saturn person wants to do that in order for you to improve and in order for you to become a better person, basically. So that's it. Yes, Sun and Saturn. Very interesting to find that in the horoscope. That was the last video of the Saturn videos that I did. If you have another idea, please let me know. If you have another idea of these more kind of, this is something different than the monthly horoscopes, of course. But I love this, to do this, to spread what I know. It's only a humble opinion, of course. It's not only knowledge out of books, but I get my knowledge mostly out of the experience and how I work with people. And of course, because of you who watches this and who share with me your thoughts. That's great. Thank you for watching, and wishing you a good day or a good evening or a good night, and see you soon. Bye bye.